Okay, what
Absolutely.
else? What else do you have? We still have other
Sure.
customers, right? So, who
Yeah,
are
yeah,
looking,
definitely. So
yeah.
since you talked about business case, right? So let us give you a glimpse of how agentic workflow works, right? Um, in simplest terms, let's define it first. Let's define what's an agent versus a robot, right? Agentic versus robotic. In simplest terms, agentic system, as you've seen, works in such a way that given an objective or prompt and given a list of tools it has access to, tools can be automation, tools can be APIs or integration. Given those, it can be able to autonomously make decisions which tools to execute and ultimately achieve that primary objective you've set, right? So it can interact, as you've seen, it can interact with the real world environment, whether it's confined with your software or real world environment. So that's what agentic is. So I'll show you now. I'm sure this will resonate with you as well, especially. Um, I'll show you a use case around SAP, most common ERP system that our customers has, where day in the life of like uh, ERP analyst, right? So they could leverage this in their day-to-day productivity or things that they do as part of their day job, where let's say they would have this sets of POs and they need to manually they have to look at the PO and then uh, in case this PO are not in SAP yet as a sales order, they have to create it. They will have to open SAP manually, and then in case this is created, they for example they have to change, let's say, the requested delivery date as per uh, uh, the specific request coming from the customer, let's say.
Yeah,
So,
Russell, this is pretty cool what you're going to
uh-huh,
show because I remember, a few years ago, I was talking to a customer and they were doing service parts management. So what they basically have is they have all these service parts in their inventory, but they have to get these service parts from their vendor, and they come from multiple vendors. But when their customer requests for some repair, they need to go look up the parts they have in the list, and if they don't have, they have to request their vendors to send to them. And many times what happens is the vendors, they when they try to fulfill the POs, sometimes they send their updates via spreadsheet. Believe it or not, they send it via spreadsheet. They had sent the PO earlier, but they send another additional spreadsheet to say, oh, these POs, we have to update this in particular information. And then what this customer had an agent, sitting in their workstation would go through the spreadsheet and go manually update going into an SAP transaction. So I think I'm pretty excited what you're going to show next, what we can do with this. Go ahead, Russ.
yeah, absolutely. And so what I'll do is I'll just provide two goals, right? Two goals that can perform end to end what I need to do with these POs, right? So first goal, I would like to, without opening SAP, I would like to for autopilot to ask autopilot and say, are these POs existing in SAP?
Oh, you're sending two PDFs at the same time.
Yes, two PDFs at the same
That's
time.
awesome.
And based on these questions, right, I will, so it will look at the PDFs, what the
Mhm.
contents are, and get the particular context that it needs to fetch and query SAP to fetch the details from SAP. So it will do this all in real time, right? Without me even touching or opening SAP because it has access to SAP APIs as tools, right? And it will just do the matching by itself. It will decide, it will provide me a summary of what the results are. So in here, it actually went to SAP after extracting the needed details, meaning analyzing the two PDF documents. It was able to extract the PO number because it based on this the thought process that it has, right? What it needs is the PO number, and then using the PO number, it will use the API to fetch. So that's the first PO. And the second PO, it extracted this and then went ahead and searched in SAP, right? So both of this has so indicates a purchase order number is not, and this PO seems to be newly created, may not be entered SAP, right? So now what I will ask is create the first PO as new order, and then create another one for that same PO and with twice as quantity.
Okay.
So
this is something I can assume that, there was a email sent, for example, and they have to act upon after the PO was created, right? So you're trying to show multiple scenarios here, what's possible. Great, good.
Yep. So if there would have been a PO that is existing, I would just have asked it, just create or create another order of the same type, but make it twice. Because if I was expecting this one as an existing PO and it finds it, then I would just have asked it to create another one of the same PO with twice as quantity. So because that's I think as you mentioned before, Chitu, is also a pretty common use case where they need to create the same order for the same sold to party, but with different quantity or with different line items. So
yeah, it's very much
let's
possible. Yeah, exactly.
yep.
Once the PO is faxed in or emailed,
Yep.
then there has change in mind or new discussion coming in,
Yep.
We always want to support our customer and then adapt those changes. But in the back office, it's easy for them to perform this task. The sales would just throw these changes to them, saying this back office to do. That's pretty cool. And you mentioned API. I think when SAP customers listen to this, you're using OData API, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. They need to hear that.
Absolutely. So we're
But you
using
can also do a UI automation too, I guess.
yeah.
So that's kind of
Absolutely.
all possibilities, and that's nice.
Yeah. So I've instructed it to create so as you can see here, with just one prompt, it was able to sequentially identify the steps and run those processes. So it run to create sales order. One is for the first one, and another one is a copy of the newly created order with twice as quantity. So
Okay, perfect.
And the parameters, it was able to infer. I didn't really have to type the parameters because it was able to infer based on our conversation, right? Twice as much, meaning in here, quantity is 2, 2, 2, as previously it's 1, 1, 1, 1.
Yep.
So
Perfect.
that's really time great time saving, right?
Yeah, obviously. I think now, just imagine it takes like 5 minutes just, for each of those POs to create. You just create it in like few seconds. Now they just need, if they still want to kind of verify manually, they can just log into the system with the number and then
And
just
in
go
fact,
and check. Exactly.
I can even ask AutoPilot to do that. But before I ask you to show, I can say update. You know what? Update the last SO created with new delivery date of let's say November 16, 2024. Then open up this PO for SO for me via UI, right?
Yeah. And we are not talking about future, we are talking about now.
Now,
It's amazing.
as you can see, it's able to infer. This is the last order. I just need to click run, right? In
Yeah.
fact, you don't even need to do this. If you can set it to run automatically, but this is just an additional check. So just to confirm that all the parameters are correct, and it's good to go, right?
I
So
think
once it's updated,
you just have those configuration to say that the executions can be automated or
yep.
run without waiting for a user input if you want to. So just kind of